Hey guys, so our next unit is on rational and radical functions. The very first section that we're going to do today is on rational exponents. And so what that means, it's what we do when we have an exponent that's not a whole number. So we're going to have exponents that are fractions, and we're going to learn how to rewrite them and how to simplify them. Okay, let's get started. So I'm doing the notes out under the Elmo today because I want to be able to show you how to plug this into the calculator. Most of what you're doing in this section is rewriting stuff and then plugging it into the calculator. Okay, so let's first talk about what we already know about integer exponents. And so like that basically means like an exponent that's a whole number. So if you have 3 squared, we know that that's 9 because that's 3 times 3, right? So we know that an exponent means that number, this base, this is called the base, and then this is the exponent. So we want that base multiplied by itself however many times the exponent is. So 3 to the third means 3 times itself 3 times. 3 times 3 times 3, which we know is 27. 3 to the fourth would be 3 times itself 4 times, which is 81. Okay, so we've done work with exponents. We've even done a little bit of work with square roots. So now we're just referring to them as just roots in general. We have different types of roots. We don't only have square roots. That's not the only type of root that exists. That's all you've learned about so far. But today we're going to learn about more roots. So a square root, you typically don't see it with the 2 there. Like you normally see it just like this. And we know that that means square root. So when there's no number there, it's understood that the root is 2. And so what that means, a square root, which you guys already know this, is what times itself is 9. So what times itself 2 times, basically, times itself, that's 2 times, would give you 9, which we know is 3. The square root of 9 is 3. Now, if we get into cubed roots or fourth roots or fifth roots or sixth roots, there's going to be a number there now. And that number is what root it is. So if this is a 3 here, and if I asked you the cubed root of 27, let's say, that means what times itself 3 times is 27. I'll just write that here for you. What times itself 3 times is 27. That's what a cubed root is. So whatever number is here, it's what times itself, however many times, is this number. So this we just did over here. 3 to the third is 27. So we know that 3 times itself 3 times is 27. Now, if this would be the fourth root. So a fourth root, we would want to know like what times itself 4 times is 81. Well, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 3 to the fourth, is 81, so it's going to be 3. Now, I'll get into in a little bit how you would put that into the calculator. Okay, so that's what happens when we have exponents that are whole numbers. Now we're going to get into what happens when we have exponents that are fractions. So also known as fractional exponents. So this is a general rule for rewriting a fractional exponent. Here's your base. This whole 1 over n, that's your exponent. And so what happens is the denominator of the exponent becomes the root, the number of the root that we're going to find. And then the base becomes what's called the radicand, what's underneath the radical symbol. So once you see the examples, it gets easier. So if you see this example 1 right here, we have 9 to the 1/2 power. So what happens in, just like with this general rule, the denominator of the fraction becomes the root. So this is going to be a square root. And then the base becomes your radicand. So this is really just asking us the square root of 9, which is 3. I am going to show you how to put this in the calculator, but I'm also including on our post on Classroom this chart that I created with some commonly used powers. So you would find 9 on here, which is here, and it's the square root of 9, which is 3. 3 times itself is 9. So I'll refer back to this too throughout and show you how to use it. Okay, so the next one is 27 to the 1/3 power. So 27 to the 1/3 power, the 3 becomes the root. So this is going to be the cubed root. and then the 27 is your radicand. So we want the cubed root of 27, which we just learned up here is 3. I basically just took these and I'm rewriting them with fractional exponents. So this would be 3 because 3 times itself 3 times is 27. Now let me show you how to put this in the calculator. I'm going to show you how to do it in a regular calculator and also a phone calculator, which I have an iPhone, so that'll have to be what I show you. Okay, so we've always used this square root number, the square root symbol right here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Right above that, do you guys see how, it's kind of hard to see, but there's an X with the square root symbol. So if I want to do the cubed root of 27, I have to put first the number of the root. So I'm going to put 3. And then you want this button here, this above here. So it's the second button. So you're going to hit second. And then this. See how it comes up where it's X and then the square root? And then you would put 27. So that's getting the cubed root of 27, which is 3. Now, depending on what calculator you're using, it might be a little bit different. I'll also show you how you would put it into a phone calculator. So in a phone calculator, you do it a little bit opposite of what I just showed you. You would put the 27 first. Then there's this button here. So this actually has a cubed root button if I wanted to just do a cube root. So then it's 3. But say you had to do like a 4th root or something like that. This button here, it's a little bit hard to see. This button here has a Y as the root and then the X as the base. So say you wanted to do the cubed root of 27, you would do 27. You would hit this button with the Y square root of X. And then you would put what root do you want? I want the cubed root, so I'm going to put in 3 equals, and it's 3. I'll show you a few more after how to put it in the calculator. Okay, so our next example is 81 to the 1/4. So your root is going to be the 4th root, and it's the 4th root of 81. So we want what times itself. 4 times is 81, which we just did up on the top is 3. Now, again, if you're putting that in the calculator, let me show you on here real quick because I feel like most of you are probably using phone calculators. You're going to put 81. Let's clear it. 81. And then this root button, and then 4 equals, and it's 3. Okay, so that's example 3. Okay, so sometimes that's what happens when you have, let me just go back for a second, a fractional exponent where the numerator is 1. You just simply write it like this, figure out what it is, simplify. Sometimes you might have a fractional exponent where the numerator is something other than 1, so something bigger than 1, like 2 or 3 or 5. If that happens, we still rewrite it. So this part of it, the denominator still goes here. The denominator is still your root. Your base is still your radicand. The only difference is whatever this numerator is, we put this in parentheses, and then we raise this to that power. This becomes an exponent. So again, once you see some examples, it's not so bad. Let me zoom in a little bit for the examples. Okay, so if we have 9 to the 3/2 power, again, the 2, the denominator becomes your root. So this is going to be a square root. The 9 goes underneath. And then this 3, we're going to put this in parentheses, and then that's going to be raised to the 3rd power. And so it's pretty easy to figure out. You just do parentheses first. So the square root of 9 is 3. And so now this is 3 to the 3rd. Now how you figure out 3 to the 3rd in a calculator. In this calculator, you put in 3, and then you raise it, this little arrow here, so it looks like this, to the 3rd equals, it's 27. If putting it in the calculator is tricky for you, you can use that chart that I'm attaching to help. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So this one's 256 to the 5/4 power. So this denominator determines what root it is. So it's going to be the 4th root of 256. So what times itself 4 times is 256. And then it's raised to the 5th power. Okay, so let me show you how to do it on this calculator. So we want the 4th root of 256. You're going to do 4, and then you're hitting second, and then the up little caret button. 256. So the 4th root of 256 is 4. And then that's to the 5th power. So now I want to take 4 and put 4 to the 5th power, which is 1024. Let me show you how to do this in your phone calculator too. Put it up here. Okay, so first we need the 4th root of 256. So for that, you're doing 256, and then you're hitting this button here with the Y, the root button. You're hitting that, and then you have to tell the calculator what root you want. We want the 4th root, so it's 4. So that's where we're getting that from. And then to raise something to an exponent, you want to hit this button here. See, it says x to the y power. So then x to the y power, and then it's 5. So see, it's 1024. So again, let me zoom in a little bit. I'll show you that last part one more time. So once I got that the 4th root of 256 was 4, I'm doing 4 to the 5th power. So 4, and then this x to the y button, and then 5 equals 1024. Feel free to let me know if you have questions, if you have a different calculator. Okay, last one here is 32 to the 2/5 power. So this 5 is going to be the root, so it's the 5th root of 32, and then this is going to be raised to the 2nd power, like that. So we need the 5th root of 32. So let's grab the calculator. I'll do this one again. So we want 3, 2, and then we're hitting this button to tell it that it's the 5th root equals, it's 2. 2 times itself 5 times is 32. So this becomes 2, and then this exponent is squared, so it's 4.